Good evening, you're watching Estuary News. Coming up this evening, we visit the best pub in Hull, well worth doing the research. We have the latest sports and business news, and tonight's guest is Chloe Hallam, who'll be talking about Holocaust Memorial Day. Welcome to Estuary News, I'm Hugh Richards. Time now for the news headlines.
Proposals for 152 homes on agricultural land in Lakesby have taken a step forwards. North East Lincolnshire Council originally turned down plans due to concerns over the development's proximity to a pig farm and potential traffic issues. An independent planning inspector is now leading an inquiry expected to last 3 days. Community groups are being asked to apply for up to £5,000 worth of funding to make Hull a healthier place. Several X Factor style events are being held across the city to encourage people to come forward and pitch ideas. NHS Hull Clinical Commissioning Group is providing the grants. 23 of the 27 groups at the first pitching event on Saturday did receive financial backing.
It means that we know that the money that we're spending on the projects is being spent in the right way and at the right place. Last time that we ran the fund, we reached over 20,000 people with the amount of money that we'd invested, which was actually considerably less than we would have paid for them to go to A&E or somewhere like that. So it's real value for money.
The community of Goxhill are coming together to raise money to reopen a village pub. The Brocklesby Hunt shut down in February 2014 after making losses that amounted to £15,000 a week. The land is now owned by a housing company, Goxhill Parish Council. Tellers, donations and fundraising efforts will enable them to get the premises back up and running.
I have 12 months to put in the application and turn it around. And the show of hands showed that 90% of the people were prepared to put money in themselves with a view to buying shares, etc. And various other options were looked at, getting a community loan.
And the lives of Hull's lost trawlermen will be remembered at a service this Sunday, now in its 27th year, remembering more than 6,000 trawlermen who lost their lives at sea. It takes place on St Andrew's Quay at 12 o'clock noon.
It's a situation where if they're wet ashore, they could go to the cemetery, they could lay flowers on anniversaries and that kind of thing. You can't do that when anyone's lost at sea. And that's what this service does. It gives them a place and somewhere to come and pay tribute.
And that's all from the news.
The Great British Pub is a cornerstone of our civilization, and every year the campaign for Real Ale, CAMRA, celebrates the best. The Hull and East Yorkshire branch have announced the winners of the 2015 prizes. Village Pub of the Year went to the Goodman Arms in Goodmanham near Market Weighton, and the Town Pub of the Year was awarded to the Butcher's Dog in Driffield. And for the second year running, the Whalebone in Wincolmley in Hull was awarded the City Pub prize. You couldn't keep Dan Kemp away.
Built in 1796, the Whalebone is situated in the former industrial area of Wincolmley. Famous for its milling heritage and proximity to the River Hull, it was once a booming area, now slightly more quiet. Jamie Redding is the pub's manager.
It's probably one of the last remaining proper pubs for what history it is. You've got many more in the town centre, but outside the town centre there's nothing history-wise outside the town centre for pubs. And as you can see in the pub itself, we have all the history of all the old pubs in Hull and the history of Hull, and that's what people love to come see. As an industrial estate, so it has its own quirky thing for it. With being an industrial estate, not many pubs around like that anymore. They usually close and reopen and close again. It's nothing really stable.
The award is the pub's second in as many years, and is also featured in the CAMRA Good Beer Guide 2016, where it's described as a comfortable saloon bar, adorned with photos of bygone Hull pubs, industry awards, and some of the city's sporting heritage.
It's all the pubs who sell Real Ale in Hull go into a voting capacity, and it goes until the final five, and then final five are then come into a major judging. All the judges go around judging your quality of beer and everything, your atmosphere and everything that comes with a pub. And luckily for me, second year in, come on top. Like I said, we're not in the town centre, so all advertising is great advertising, so just to get us out there even more and make people more aware of the pub is brilliant.
And if you have any news or sports stories for us, or you'd like to appear on our news sofa, you can get in touch with us by emailing news@estuary.tv or by calling us on 01472 3155553. My guest tonight is here to talk about the importance of Holocaust Memorial Day. She joins me now on the sofa. Chloe Hallam, thank you very much for coming in, Chloe.
Thank you for having me.
What's been your... Now, let's establish what your role is. You work at Grimsby Institute.
Yes, my role here at the Institute is in the Learner Services Department, and I am a learner mentor. That encompasses a lot of things, but the main idea of our role is to offer one-to-one support to learners and also to raise awareness around different topics throughout the year.
And Holocaust Memorial Day, what have you been doing for that?
Well, this morning we held a commemorative event in the Arts Centre Theatre for our learners to attend. In that event there were some videos from the Holocaust Memorial Day Trust. We also had our Level 2 Performing Arts students who performed a small section from a play written by a local playwright, David Wrightham. And we also had Leo Solomon with us, who offered a prayer in Hebrew and then a translation in English as well.
Okay. It's the date today is particularly important, that it's the Holocaust Memorial Day because it's the anniversary of a particular event.
Yes, Holocaust Memorial Day, the 27th of January, it commemorates the liberation of Auschwitz-Birkenau, and commemorative events are held on this date every year. At the Institute ourselves, we've been holding events for this for the past 10 years, I think.
And it's the interesting thing here, when you say the word Holocaust, it's a Greek word, mass murder is what it means, or the end of everything really is what it means. But you're applying it not just to the mass murder that the Nazis committed in the 1940s of about 6 million or more people. You're applying it to other acts of genocide as well, to be remembered on this day. Yes,
although it's primarily come from the Holocaust, which happened to, the persecution of the Jews during World War II. We do commemorate other genocides such as Rwanda, Cambodia and Darfur. And this year the main focus from the Holocaust Memorial Trust was actually on Darfur. So we showed a few videos that talked about that, just to raise the awareness for the students.
Just remind me, forgive me for my own ignorance, but I do remember the Darfur horrors, of course, but just remind me, what went on there?
The video today focused on how he kind of noticed women were being raped there, and that was kind of what was going on. And that wasn't just happening to them, they would actually bring the whole community together to kind of witness what was happening. And in the video he discussed how kind of traumatic that must have been for women, not only to have that happen to them, but to have their fathers, their brothers, their sons watching this happen. And while all of this was happening, I think there was a lot of kind of turn the other cheek. The government there didn't intervene fast enough, and this was what the man was talking about, how he couldn't just stand by and see this happening, and he used media to kind of get everybody to realise what was happening.
It's astonishing, isn't it, that within my parents' and your grandparents' lifetimes, the Holocaust in Europe took place in the very late 1930s and the 1940s, and that since the war, in the last half century or 70 years or so, so many further acts of genocide have taken place. That this is not ancient history. This is something that is part of our experience and our existence.
Yes, and that's kind of why it's so important to us to raise that awareness to our learners. I visited Cambodia last year, and obviously the genocide happened there throughout the 80s, and it was so apparent what had happened in that country and how...
This was under Pol Pot's regime.
Yeah, and you could just see how that country had been torn apart. The majority of the people that were working there were under the age of 16, and I think the statistic is actually that around half of the population in Cambodia are under the age of 16 now.
One of the reasons for having this Memorial Day, I suppose, is to remember that we're capable of this, that humanity is capable of this obscenity. How do we reconcile ourselves to getting on with the perpetrators of these crimes, you know, a decade, a generation later? How do we feel about how do we feel about Germans? How do we feel about communist Cambodians?
I think what I've noticed when I've been kind of raising the awareness running up to this event was actually that a lot of students weren't even aware of the scale of this, and we wanted to kind of bring it down to a small scale of, I mean, the motto this year for Holocaust Memorial Day is "Don't stand by," and we wanted to bring that down to a small level of don't stand by if you're in the street and you see somebody being bullied. Don't stand by if you see racist comments being made.
Chloe, we'll continue with this a little bit after the break, but don't go away. Stay with us, as coming up after the break we have the latest sports and business news, and Dave Nunn will be bringing you the regional headlines. Welcome back. You're watching Estuary News. Still to come, we have the latest business and sports news from around our region, and Dave Nunn will be bringing you some of the area's headlines. My guest Chloe Hallam is still with me, talking about Holocaust Memorial Day. Chloe, about 20 years ago, I visited the site of Auschwitz-Birkenau, and it's an extremely moving and appalling and necessary experience. I think everybody should do it, although it's not a cheerful day. One of the mysteries that I couldn't work out was what on earth was going on in the head of the 19-year-old kid from Stuttgart or Nuremberg walking around the perimeter with a rifle on his shoulder. What on earth was going on in the heads of not the designers of this horrible killing, but the mechanicals of this killing?
I think that was kind of another reason that it was really important for us to hold this event this year. We have all been trained as staff on the PREVENT strategy, which looks at radicalisation, and particularly radicalisation of young and vulnerable people. And I feel that was clearly what was happening then. With Hitler's youth camps, he was kind of indoctrinating young people into thinking a certain way and feeling maybe if they were lost, they felt like they were part of something. And it's something it's so current, because we're finding young people wanting to go over to Syria to fight with so-called Islamic State because it makes them feel like they are part of something and like they belong somewhere. And it's really important for us to make it clear to students how that can happen, like the path to radicalisation and how it can be so quickly done.
Is there a sufficiently similar set of circumstances of 1930s Germany? So let's use that genocide as it's the most evil thing that human beings have ever done, I suppose. So that is an example. 1930s Germany, not rich, it was after the Great Depression and everything, but a westernized industrial country. Is that so similar to 21st century Britain, that there are people who are so bored or feel such a lack of identity that they'll be that desperate to find something?
Yeah, I think, and that's why the government have said that we all need to be trained on this. We are finding, especially people who do feel isolated in communities, if they're not very well integrated into communities, they do feel isolated and they feel like they're not part of something. And if they're being contacted by people who want to radicalise them, who want to get them to move and fight their cause, they're very open to that. And I do think kind of it is mirroring, obviously not on the same scale now, but the early stages.
Well, and the history of human violence and mass murder demonstrate that it's so recent and so frequent, demonstrates that I suppose that we should just always be ever vigilant.
Yes. It's sad that it is that way.
Well, we have to fight the beast within. What is it? I think it was Joseph Mature that all that's necessary for evil to prevail is for good men to stand aside and do nothing. Something along those lines. Anyway.
Yeah.
Chloe, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Now, Erica Barker brings us the latest business news.
An East Yorkshire brewery is one of many small businesses in the food and drink industry being encouraged to take advantage of demand for British exports. The Yorkshire and Humber region is home to 17% of the UK's breweries, brewing 30% of the UK's craft beers. With the demand for British products growing worldwide, the UKTI says local businesses should start upping their exports.
It's marvellous. There's a huge upswing in the British brand is seen as very safe. The government's doing a great job on marketing it. Through DEFRA, through new Great British Food Units, where we'll be putting the fact that we manufacture safe and well-researched food and drink from the United Kingdom, and it's perceived that market abroad then looks for us because they know they're buying something, they know it's safe, they know it has a reputation, and we can look after the ingredients that go into our food and drink products.
The Prospect Centre, one of Hull's three main shopping centres, is rebranding, with owners New River Retail ploughing £500,000 into a new campaign, adding new floors and a lift, aiming to give the centre a modern feel in time for City of Culture 2017. The centre is set to unveil 2 new retailers in the coming weeks. Elsewhere, it's been announced that the Lincolnshire Farming Conference is set to return to the Lincolnshire Showground in September. The main focus will be to look at ways in which to engage with and attract younger people into the agricultural industry. And a Beverley election will soon take place at the Guildhall, when 12 new pasture masters and 2 auditors will be chosen by the pasture freemen. The election will take place between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. on Tuesday the 1st of March this year. And that's the latest from the business news.
And joining me now to bring us up to date on a few of the headlines around the region, Dave Nunn. Dave, what have you found?
Well, first things first, we're going to go back to the story that's been captivating pretty much everyone all week, which is, of course, the sad story of the whales that washed up on Skegness Beach. And apparently they're being removed tonight by East Lindsey District Council.
I've been reading these stories, but I'm fascinated to find out where they're being removed to.
Yeah, it doesn't actually say. I was watching, it was on the news this morning, they were saying they're going to take them and give them a proper, I don't know if they said burial, or I don't think you can really bury a whale, because it's a bit impractical, isn't it?
Be a big grave, yeah.
That is an interesting part of the story, what they're going to do with it. And they're also talking about, on the news this morning, how they're going to perform the autopsy, and to, you know, looking at the different bits of it to find out, obviously, why they ended up where they ended up on the beach.
Well, perhaps the autopsy, the post-mortem, will reveal why their navigation systems went so wrong, and they got themselves into the North Sea where, frankly, they have no business being.
Yeah, because it's a very shallow area. I didn't realise it was such a shallow area. Obviously, they like several thousand metres of depth to go down and hunt.
They do.
Obviously, the North Sea is very shallow, and their sonar leads them down there.
It's giant squid they like. There aren't any giant squid in the North Sea.
You're a bit of a whale enthusiast here.
I think, like everybody else who's been following the story, I've become a bit more expert in the last few days than I was before. Of course,
one of the things about the story as well is the cost, and it says the entire process could cost the council more than £10,000.
Well, it's not much alternative, is it? You can't leave rotting whale meat on the beach for...
no, especially if you've got like the summer season, they're still there.
For the carrion beasts to come and take away. What more have you got?
So we've got a kind of bizarre sort of crime story. So a little while ago, tyres on cars are being slashed quite a lot in Pocklington, and they caught the guy who did it, and it's one of those things that you can't really make up, because the guy who did it is a guy called Julian Glue.
Has he been convicted, Dave, before you start saying these things?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
But what he's saying is it's been described as one of the most bizarre crimes in Humberside Police's recent times in the Hull Daily Mail. And he was a Buddhist monk, believe it or not, this guy.
Right.
And he went on this tyre slashing because he stepped on an insect. That was his excuse for going on this tyre slashing rampage, believe it or not.
And stepping on an insect is against the rules if you're a Buddhist monk, because you're taking a life? I'm not sure how that justifies or that encourages tyre slashing.
He was probably a bit mad anyway, because it says he got disillusioned by today's sighting. Apparently he used to live in the woods. Right, the whole Daily Mail, and he kind of just flipped out and went and slashed a lot of tyres.
Okay, well, we have our more colourful characters.
It's one of those things that you probably couldn't make
Probably
up.
In view of the Defamation Act 1952, worth suggesting that we are innocent until proved guilty in this country, and that the allegation is that he is guilty.
The allegation is that he's guilty, yes.
These offences, okay.
So we've got Lincolnshire's Police and Crime Commissioner has been criticised for hiring a head of news.
I see.
It's a £42,000 a year role as head of news for Lincolnshire's Police and Crime Commissioner, Alan Pardew. It's not Alan Pardew, is it? That's someone else. Never mind, that's me. But yeah, he's been criticised for this because obviously Lincolnshire Police has been very vocal in its lack of funding and support from central government.
Yes.
And obviously to hire this £42,000 head of news.
Yes, I think you've just mentioned the manager of Crystal Palace.
That was my mistake.
But yes, the commissioner...
It's Alan Hardwick, that's his name.
Alan Hardwick, the commissioner, and the chief constable have been absolutely shoulder to shoulder about the fact that Lincolnshire Police Force needs more money from central government, haven't they?
Yeah, so now he's going to hire this £42,000 head of news, and there are people standing against him.
But he is himself an old hand as a journalist back in the day. He was a calendar reporter back in the glory days of calendar. So perhaps he knows how to manipulate the media. Let us not be manipulated by manipulators of the media, Dave. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
A few more stories next time. Time now for the sports.
Hull City midfielder Sean Maloney appears to be a doubt for Saturday's FA Cup tie with Bury due to injury. The Scottish international has hoping to make his first appearance since late December, but limped out of training. But some more positive injury news is that centre-half partnership Michael Dawson and Alex Bruce are both expected to start at Gig Lane at the weekend. Scunthorpe United caretaker manager Andy Dawson says he's been given a selection headache for Saturday's game against Coventry City. The Iron will go into the game on the back of a 3-0 victory over Colchester at the weekend, while Coventry lost 3-0 to Southend. Long-term absentees Kevin Von Veen and Gary McSheffrey are nearing a return, while both strikers Paddy Madden and Tom Hopper found the net last time out. Hull FC's Frank Pritchard has earmarked some of the team's youngsters for a bright future. Ross Osborne and Jordan Abdul are both amongst the players who impressed the New Zealand international during his short time in Hull.
You know, the young guys like Ross and Abdul, you know, those fellas they really caught my eye this year. You know, they're just trying to push their way through the squad and make a name for themselves. Yeah, even Massey, you know, he's a young kid, with a big heart and plenty of potential. Yeah.
Meanwhile, trialist Lee Smith is expected to sign for the Black and Whites by the end of the week. According to the Hull Daily Mail, the club will need to try and free up space in the squad by sending another player out on loan. That's all your sport for now. You can get in touch in the usual ways with a story. You can call 01472 31553 or email sport@estuary.tv. Bye for now.
That's all for tonight. If you have a news story for us, then please visit our Facebook or Twitter pages or email news@estuary.tv or call us on 01472 31553. Until tomorrow, good evening.
Hello and welcome to Estuary TV's weather. A cold start on Thursday with some morning sunshine followed by afternoon showers and highs of 9 degrees. Friday will be mild with further rain and strong winds.